Well, hello folks, and welcome to A Sportsman's Life. I'm Luke Clayton and my two good buddies,
Jeff Rice
and Larry Weissoon, and we're so proud that you're with us this week. I'll be very honest with you, I have no idea where we're going.
There is no telling, but it's going to be fun.
We're going to have a good time, folks. Stay tuned. We have another great adventure on A Sportsman's Life coming your way. Well, hello friends. Welcome to another edition of A Sportsman's Life. Glad to have you joining us here today. We are at the Buck and Bass Ranch. We're just walking around. We're going to take a little hike. Just enjoy the nature. I have my wife's 30-30. I borrowed from her. She's sleeping, so don't tell her. So we're just going to take a walk. We're going to go see what we can see. Maybe we'll get up on an animal. Maybe we'll see some flowering trees in the woods. Whatever. It's just a beautiful place, and I want you to come along, take a walk with me. Let's just go take a look what East Texas woods have to offer here, out here near Lake Fork. So we have a great show for you lined up. Luke will be with us here in a bit, and we are off and running. So let's just take us a walk. Won't you join me? Friends, that happened pretty quick. Little did I know, just walking along, and we've come across a couple of hogs already, so I kind of did the sneak on them and tried to get some video for you. Didn't have a shot opportunity, but again, just getting out in the woods like this and walking around, you never know what you're going to see. It's just fun. So we're just enjoying it. We're really not. I mean, I got the gun. Could you say we're hunting? Yeah, I guess we're hunting, but really, I'm just more out to take a beautiful stroll into the woods. The sun has just come up. My wife is still sleeping, and so I just figured, I'm gonna get up. I'm gonna take a walk even before my cup of coffee. So, wow, that was quick. Almost got on those dudes, but that's okay. I see some things up here I want to show you, folks. So let's continue our journey. Well, this is one of the things I wanted to show you. When you're walking through the woods, there's a lot of people that don't know what poison ivy looks like, and poison ivy, you certainly do not want to get into it. But they say leaves of 3, 1, 2, 3 points, and then there's 3 leaves. So it's 3 leaves with 3 points. Leaves of 3, let it be, and it'll grow up trees in a vine-like fashion. That is something you definitely want to stay away from. So just want to give you an idea of what poison ivy looks like. Don't mess with it. Friends, I want to show you what this vine, see this vine that looks like follicles of heavy hair or something? That, my friends, is poison ivy. So if you see that growing up a tree, you definitely don't want to be playing with that vine. So we just showed you the leaves of 3. Be careful with that stuff. This stuff you do not want to get into. A lot of people will confuse this vine that grows up trees, which is like a Virginia creeper, with poison ivy. But as you can see, they have a lot of jagged edges, and they're at 5 leaves of 5. So that is not poison ivy or poison oak. So just so you know, that's a creeping vine. That's Virginia creeper. So all right, there's your poison ivy lesson of the day. I just find it very interesting how we've got these wooded vines that basically go right up a tree. Isn't that something? this. This is what you call a well-used hog trail. I mean, it's very pronounced. It shoots right through those woods there. Let's zoom in just a tad. You can kind of see. Yep, that's a well-used one. Find a place to sit off that on the downwind side. That's where you shoot a hog. Okay, let's continue with our adventure. Absolutely gorgeous day out here. Well, as you can see, folks, we also have honeysuckle wild growing out here, and a couple of the roads are just filled with it. We call them Honeysuckle Road. You drive down that road and it just smells absolutely beautiful. Love it. Well, that's one big old tree. That's another thing we do with out here on our property is trees that fall across the road. Thank goodness for a Kubota tractor, because it saves me a lot of work. We'll get back to this one. Well, friends, another native plant out here in the East Texas area where we're at is right dead center of the screen. You'll see what looks like a palm leaf. That's a palmetto. There's a lot of palmettos here, down here. So you'll find some thick patches or thick groves of these palmettos, and I do know hogs, maybe even deer, will bed down because there's a lot of protection. So you'll see a lot of palmettos out here. Just beautiful. Some people don't like them, but I think they're kind of cool. Again, there's so much beauty in the forest. I mean, just look at this old rotted out stump. Been there for a long time. Kind of cool. Well, friends, I wanted to show you something here. You don't see these very often. They're called a star lily, and they grow in very bottomland-like areas. You can see there's lots of water and low-lying area here, but they're absolutely stunningly beautiful. The star lily. Just take in the beauty of that with all the moss growing on these old vines. It's just beautiful stuff. Friends, all I can say is get out here and enjoy this beauty. You know, just take a walk in the woods, bring your kids, get your family. Can't think of a better place to go hang out. I mean, look at this. This is just love this stuff. Just go find cool things, you know. Doesn't get much cooler than this right here. All right, we'll venture on. Well, I wonder how many years ago this tree lived. It's long gone, and now it's become a drinking hole for animals, I would assume. It does hold water, so almost like God put a little watering hole here for the birds. All right. Take a look at this cowboy. That's kind of cool. Check that vine out. In a dead tree, but it goes all the way on up and gets into that big tree there. That's fascinating. Very, very cool. Another old stump. Kind of neat. Walking through the woods, finding all these kind of things. Beauty. Definitely beauty. Why do all these big, beautiful trees always have poison ivy around them? Isn't that crazy? That is an oak tree, folks. Amazing thing about it is the size. Now, that's not your typical oak tree. This is called a water oak. Got a few of them on their property out here, so they get very, very large. Very large. And only grow kind of in the south, starting about here, more toward Louisiana, is where you'll find the water oak. Beautiful trees. I find that interesting too. The fungus growth on this tree makes for an interesting pattern and something cool to photograph. It's just such a beautiful day. Out here by myself, just enjoying the wilderness, being out here, the sights and the sounds of the woods. It does something for the soul. For me, I just get out here and my blood pressure goes down. I just have fun being out here. I know we got a few projects to do later today. I got a feeder to fix and some other stuff, but sometimes this comes first. Take care of yourself, get out here, have some fun. Sometimes just breaking away and doing something like this for a few hours in the morning, kind of get your mind straight and just kind of take it all in. We'll get our projects done, but we're also going to enjoy our time. So a couple other things I want to show you. There's a tree up here I want to show you that can cause a lot of headaches for a lot of people. So let's go take a look at it. I'll show you what I'm talking about. You may or may not be familiar with this tree. This is the trunk of the tree. I will tell you, this wood is extremely hard. If you're trying to cut it with a chainsaw, it's like cutting through rock. This is the infamous locust tree. I've actually had one of these locust thorns right here go through my tractor tire on my Kubota tractor. Those are like needles. They're sharp, they're strong, and I mean, look, I just stuck that tree right there. Absolutely amazing trees. I don't like them because they're a mess and they're hard to deal with when you want to try to cut them up. And they are absolutely loaded. Just go up the tree here and show you with thorns. That's stuff you don't want to get into. Okay, the locust tree. Of course, this is something you always want to avoid when walking around out in the woods. We just came across a little open area here and one big fire ant mound. Yeah, not good. So watch where you walk. I always find this tree very interesting because you've got really four main trunks coming out of one. Looks like one tree down here, but then you go up and you see it's four separate trees come right out of there. Kind of a neat looking deal. Fun to look at. Look at that tree too. I always find that one interesting. That's a cedar tree back there, but it's got kind of a weird look to it. Let's just take a peek at that real quick. Look at that. That's unique. Folks, you won't see this stuff unless you get out in the woods and walk. Just look for things like this. Go spend the day. It's very rewarding. Howdy friends, we're walking through the woods. We're spending the day out here at the ranch, just enjoying a beautiful a day out in the woods. So I thought we would take a break here, just check in, let's see what Luke is up to. I'm just going to continue to walk on through the woods and do some more filming and capture some of God's beauty out here. So let's check in with Luke. We'll be back in a moment.
Well, folks, it's your old buddy Luke Clayton, and we're going to make some creek coffee. Some people call this campfire coffee, but I spend a whole lot more time around a creek bank than I have a cow camp. It's an awesome way to make coffee over an open fire. I'm going to walk you through the process. Once you've had coffee that's brewed like this, it's hard to go back to the old drippolator, I'll tell you. So let me walk you through it. We're using some B&B charcoal wood. Actually, they have the dried wood, which is absolutely awesome for this kind of cooking. I've got a good fire going. Let me walk you through the process. Okay, folks, the key is 1/4 cup of coffee grounds per quart of water. So we've got a quart of water in the old pot. Let's put our coffee grounds in there. There we go. That water is a rolling boil. The whole key to good creek coffee, campfire coffee, is boiling that coffee for about 4 minutes. You want a rolling boil. Don't know if you can see that or not, but that's exactly what we've got in our fire. So let's boil it about 4 more minutes, and then we're going to pour a little bit of cold water in it. That will make all those grounds settle to the bottom. We're going to have some of the best coffee you've ever drank, folks. Okay, my friends, our coffee has been boiling a rolling boil for about 4 minutes. Now it's time to put some cool water. Actually, this is some bottled water I put in my old coffee cup. Let's put some water in there and set it off the fire. Now, those grounds are going to settle to the bottom. I'm going to take it off the fire here, and then we'll let it give it about a minute for those grounds to settle, and then we're going to have us a good cup of coffee. Folks, when you boil coffee like this, you remove 98% of the acid. So if you get indigestion from drinking coffee, try something like this. You don't have to cook it on a campfire. A lot more fun if you do. You can cook it in the house or whatever, just boil it. Add the cold water to it. Those grounds are going to be settled. So let's pour up a cup, and I wish you could taste this, but you can do the same thing. Remember, 1/4 cup of ground coffee, 1/4 cup to 1 quart of water, and you can add to or take away from that. So let's pour up a cup, let you see what it looks like. Not one ground do I see, folks. I wish you could smell this coffee. All right. There we have it, folks. Camp coffee. Now I'm going to sit back and enjoy it.
These days, almost everybody hunts with some kind of shooting optic, if you will. This happens to be a Trigicon, and happen to really like this Trigicon scope right here. It's an AccuPoint. It's got a little tritium dial back here, so there's right at the juncture of the crosshairs that are in here, there's a little, in this instance, a green spot. Helps you get on target a whole lot quicker. Helps you in terms of when there's lower light conditions. Scope, there's so much to scopes these days. We're at a point to where we've got the best optics that we've ever had in ever. And a lot of them are now, years ago you shot a 2.5, a 4 power, fixed power 6, maybe a little bit of 7 or something like that. These days most people shoot variables. They finally got the mechanics down where variables work really, really well. This happens to be a 2.5 to a 12.5. And if you'll notice, there is there's a parallax adjustment right here on this side. Now parallax, if you're using a scope that goes up to 10 power and not beyond that, you don't need to be worried about parallax at all. Parallax is essentially, a lot of people call it a focus ring. You want to set your focus back here so that whatever you're looking at, that your crosshairs are crystal clear. That's what this is for. Then when it comes to adjusting the focus beyond that, that's where you want to use it here. Most of them come with settings to where it runs anywhere from about 40 yards to infinity on this one. And what that parallax does is just aligns everything properly when you get right down to it, and it makes the focus of the animal that you're looking at very crystal clear. There are lots of different kinds of scopes available these days. There's a first focal plane and second focal plane. First focal plane, as you increase the magnification, the animal increases in size, but so does the crosshairs that are in there. It takes that crosshair that's this big and puts it down to a much smaller size. The second plane, the animal or the target you're shooting at, pretty much stays the same, or rather the reticles stay the same as you increase the magnification on it. So go to a really good dealer somewhere and have them show you some of the scopes that are there and explain to you exactly how they work, and I think you're going to be real happy when you do that. Also, these days, a lot of people are doing long-range shooting. Now, you can hold over, or some of them too will have an adjustable turret. This happens to have an adjustable turret as well. This one happens to be sighted in at 100 yards or 75 yards actually, and knowing what the drop is with a range card, I can adjust accordingly. A whole lot easier if you have the time than a holdover is. So I know that if I need to go to, with this one, if I need to go 250 yards, I click up to about the 2 figure on here. Some of them actually will have the range up here to give you an idea as to where you need to do it to. But so many different optics, so many different choices these days. 1 minute tube wise, a lot of the old scopes were all 1-inch tube. This happens to be a 30mm tube that allows for a little bit more light transmission. Now, your eye can receive a grand total of 5mm of light. That means essentially that your iris will open up to a 5mm to accept that light. So these days with the scopes that we have, sometimes you can get a lot more of that kind of thing. You can get it up to 7 or 8 sometimes, but you can only see 5. But what happens is, with the coatings that are being put on these lenses these days, that really also helps as far as light transmission. Buy a scope that you like. Most people now these days seem to go to the high variables from 4 to 18. In most instances, it's to me, it's a waste of money. Once you get from a hunting situation, if you got one that you can crank down to 2.5, I mean, you can go in a dangerous game, hunt close at 12.5. You can shoot as far out as you want to. But get out, try different scopes, and go to a good dealer and have him show you what's available. And you can't go wrong with the Trijicon. Bottom line.
Well, folks, welcome back to the show. It's fun, just kind of bring you some sights and sounds of the woods. Just spending the day out here. We spent the day on the creek yesterday, like I said, and today we're just wandering through the woods. And folks, this is a persimmon tree. Fuyu persimmon. So what we do is we plant trees like this periodically throughout the property. As you can see, perhaps there is a ladder stand on beyond that. This tree here. But once this thing matures and drops persimmons, guess what you'll find right here? Lots of deer. So anyway, they're starting to bloom too. It's beautiful out here. And boy, if this old tree could tell stories, wow. Look at that. Not sure if this video will do that justice, but it's amazing the colors you'll see out in the woods. This is just an old dead stick up, but the color coming off that is like almost chartreuse. It's interesting. Some kind of a fungus, but I just thought you'd like to see that. I think it's pretty neat. Well, folks, just want to leave you with this. Kind of an interesting old fence post. Just out along the property, all rotted out, been there for a lot of years. Matter of fact, the barbed wire is not even on the post at all anymore. Interesting. Well, I don't have to look too far to find wild berries growing out on the land. They're just budding now, but we'll have berries soon. It's also interesting just to kind of walk through the pine forest here. So we've got all hybrid loblolly pines in here, and of course the forest floor is covered in pine needles, and it's fun just to stroll through there. It's amazing the acidity in the pine needles keep anything from growing on the forest floor. You might find some Virginia creeper pop up here or there. Or you don't even find a whole lot of poison ivy. It's pretty interesting that the acidity level in those needles are very, very high. So you don't see a whole lot growing here, but just fun to walk through the woods like this. One of my favorite trees in the woods this time of year in the spring is the dogwood. We've got some blooms on there. They're starting to pop up, so you see some dogwoods around the property. Just love to look at the dogwoods. So we've got just everything in bloom out here. Great time to just get out and walk around. I'm just enjoying this day. It's been probably a good hour walk this morning. Saw a couple hogs, saw a deer, saw some buzzards. Actually saw a rabbit a minute ago. Couldn't get it on film, but he went bebopping through the woods. But we're just gonna wrap it up here. We're gonna head on back to camp and get some coffee, a little bit of breakfast, and we want to thank you again, folks, for joining us here on A Sportsman's Life. We just enjoy bringing this stuff to you, and certainly appreciate your feedback, your likes and your comments. So again, until next week, we want to thank you for joining us here this week, and we look forward to seeing you right back here next week again on A Sportsman's Life. Until next week, be safe in the outdoors.
And a special thanks to these fine sponsors: Air Force Air Guns, B&B Charcoal, Dallas Safari Club, Hornady, Pyramid Air, Nielsen Specialty Ammo, Sightmark, Smokin' Tex, Snap Block Hunting Blinds, Texas Raised Hunting Products, and Striper Express.